Hey, this is Eric, and you're listening to Neurodetergent.
And this is Katie. Our goal is to reach like-minded folks in an effort to connect, encourage, and support each other in our struggles navigating life with neurodivergence.
And to have some fun and laughs
yes.
along the way, Katie.
Okay.
If you've got a stubborn stain on your atypical brain, you need neurodetergent. We're gonna spill the tea about ADHD and wipe it clean with neurodetergent. You need neurodetergent.
All right.
I forgot.
Katie,
Hey.
how are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm good. So this is our first episode of Neurodetergent. Gonna kind of give you a little info, or if you can, Katie, give me a little info on exactly what we're trying to do here in your own words.
Okay, so we are both neurodivergent.
Mm-hmm.
You have a more classic male experience of what your childhood was like, dealing with that, and just the experience of that overall.
Mm-hmm.
And so we met, right? We hit it off. And so I think that like we can have conversations that other people can listen to where they could hopefully maybe feel less weird about like how their brain works, maybe feel more connected, feel like a camaraderie.
Right.
A community.
And it is. And it's good to meet people that you have those kinds of things in common with, because I feel like I can relate to you on a level that I don't relate to a lot of people. So give the listeners a little bit of info on who you are. Like, what do you do?
All right. I am a licensed professional counselor.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, what I do is I am platformed with two separate online therapy platforms, and I have a caseload that I maintain, and I work from home, and I just do therapy all day with clients that I've been working with for a pretty long time, like since the beginning of COVID.
And you specialize in certain areas, correct?
I do. So I specialize in religious trauma, and I specialize in working with clients who are neurodivergent and clients who are LGBTQIA+. So I opened up a practice in Springfield, Missouri. Queen City Counseling in 2018, after working at a hospital here in town, an acute psych hospital for kids, for about 7 years. And so I started working with clients who had religious trauma, but I hadn't really studied that before. And so I started to research it and got really hyper-focused on like what the connection was with that, and also the clients that I was seeing were like LGBT and identified as trans, a lot of them. So there was this like huge overlap in like religious trauma, neurodivergence, and the clients that I was seeing who are on the spectrum of all of those things that were connected. Right. So it just kind of became my niche, and that just became kind of what I attracted.
That's awesome. And, living in the Midwest, there's a lot of religious trauma. There's plenty to go around. I think I had enough of religious trauma when I was growing up. But to give everyone a little background on who I am just a guy. Like, I'm not licensed. I'm licensed to drive.
I mean, you're also, you are a leader at work.
Right. I am in management at the company I work for. I do work from home. Leadership and leadership development is a bit of a passion of mine. I do work with people, some of whom are neurodivergent.
Yeah.
And queer, LGBT, all of those things. But, don't hate me because I'm just a cis white male.
I mean...
And I'm straight. Kind of.
We'll get there. So I think that it's important to say one thing here.
Sure.
Which is the first time so we met on a dating app.
Right. We went on a date.
We went on a date, and on that date, we took a walk, and you were telling me about how you got diagnosed when you were like a baby, basically. I
was in kindergarten, but yeah.
Which, they're babies. And how you thought that you had been misdiagnosed. And I mean, I don't know if I said, did I say at the time that
you did not say at the time. After we'd known each other for a while is when you're like, nope, you weren't misdiagnosed.
You were not misdiagnosed. Okay.
Eric.
So I just wanted to insert that little tidbit.
Okay, and that's fine. And we can actually talk about that because that's one of the things that we need to talk about is our diagnosis. Because I was diagnosed in like 87 or 88.
Okay. And when were you born?
I was born in 81.
Okay. I was born in 83.
Or maybe it was 86, something like that. I was in kindergarten.
Or sirens.
So I was 5. Right. It's fine. We live in a high crime neighborhood. It's fine.
No, we don't.
I mean, I do. You don't.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're fine. We don't live together.
Just for reference, I do not live in a high crime area.
It's cool. I like to be, I like to keep my ear to the street.
Anyway.
But
hang on, okay.
It's fine. I was diagnosed in kindergarten, apparently.
Hang on. So you were born in 81.
Yeah.
And you were born in October.
September.
September. Yeah. I was born in 83 and I'm August.
Okay.
So we are 2 years apart?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're 39, I'm 41.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm pretty sure around the time I was diagnosed was kind of ADD, and that's what we called it back in the day. It was just ADD. Was kind of like the hot new thing. Right? I mean, seriously, it was...
Okay, hang on. Because that... I just want to say this. Okay, because that is not what you called it when you were 5. You did not call ADHD the hot new thing. So who called it the hot new thing in your life?
But I think by me saying that, what I'm trying to say is like my mom... I love her to death, but she has a tendency to kind of jump on bandwagons because she reads like maybe an article or hears something from a friend in church.
Hang on. But like, I understand all that. Also, you not only do very much have ADD, but like also... it's like pretty significant. And and so just hang on. And so like you're saying like your mom likes to jump on bandwagons and stuff, but like also like that was a correct diagnosis.
Right, I understand. I understand that it was the correct diagnosis.
So then what are you saying?
It just seemed like so my parents owned a bookstore. Mm-hmm. And so all of a sudden around the time I got diagnosed, all of a sudden there's all these ADD books all over the place. I start hearing about it like outside of home. And maybe that's just one of those things where like, you buy a certain model of car and then all of a sudden you see those all around.
No.
But
I can tell you what it is.
What is it?
It's that like the research into neurodivergence and like ADHD became more accessible and like became more funded. And so the availability of resources to treat ADHD and to identify that became more broad. And so like people could access those resources now in a way that they couldn't before. And like the development of the like medication and like the things that treat ADHD and like identifying that at all became more like of a research topic that was like more accessible. And
okay.
So it's important because of this. It's important because of this. Because like that's exactly what's happening with like gender affirming care.
Okay.
Is that people are connecting like causality and causation and or correlation and causality, and they're mixing it up because they don't understand. And so they think that because more people are able to identify like in a way with their gender that is affirming to them, and like because that research is now and our technology now is like more able to like connect the dots there, it's like the need for that and the resources are more available. And so, but people are thinking that it's a fad.
Okay.
And like they're equating like more openness about that with it being a fad rather than it's like, no, it's just more understood.
Okay.
So I mean,
no, that's a great point. That's a great point. I didn't think of it that way. But I guess, you know, what I'm trying to say, maybe hot new thing wasn't the
sorry.
correct term.
I definitely felt personally attacked. By that.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I may have over-identified.
But I did understand that this was kind of a new thing.
Okay, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Maybe not the hot
like,
new thing,
you
but it was a
understood that
new thing.
at the time when you were 5?
Yes. Yeah, I remember, like, I was aware of that. Because,
wow.
and even going into the next few years, I would see more and more kids that I went to school with all of a sudden in the principal's office with me at lunchtime to take their pill that didn't the year before or the year before that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And in fact, I was reading this article today, and we'll get into that in a little bit, but it was talking about how just like within 2010 and 2017, ADHD diagnosis increased like 31% in just 7 years.
Yeah.
And that leads me to an interesting question that I've always wanted to ask you.
Okay.
What if, or no, this is more of a, is it this or that type of question.
Yeah. Shoot.
Do you think we're just getting better at identifying these things? Or do you
Yes.
think that this is the next step in human evolution?
Oh, shit. Okay. Oh, this is really hard for me to... Okay. Let me ask you this.
Sure.
The part where you said the next step in human evolution, what was it that made you think of that? What is it? Did you read something? Did you hear something?
I've just kind of thought of that for a long time. And you remember me telling you about this book that I'd read after I graduated high school. Something about like a hunter and a farmer's world, and basically likening the minds of people that have ADD or ADHD to that of hunters, where they're like constantly aware of their surroundings and things like that.
Okay.
And then like, you know, the neurotypicals as the farmers. They just, you know, plow the field, till the land, and just care for their crops and things, where the hunters are moving and aware and constantly trying to catch the next thing. And so it just, you know, things like that. And I know I went in my rant to you a couple weeks ago about the singularity and those kinds of things. And it just makes me wonder if, you know, we still evolve, right? We're still evolving as human beings. What if this is our brains evolving as we see it become more and more common? Or are we just getting better at identifying it? And is it way more widespread than we ever believed?
I think that like all of that can be true at the same time.
Okay. Cool. I mean, do you want to expand on that at all? Or
Well, like, I think that, like, both, that it's easier and we are more capable, like, through technology and, like, through medicine and all of those things to be able to identify, like, more, like, I guess, like, we're able to identify neurodivergence in people with, like, greater accuracy and, like, in a lot like easier of a way where we haven't been in the past, right? And so it's like so yes, and that's true, and like also that like that could be because of evolving, right? So like those two things can be true at the same time.
I guess so. I just like to have an optimistic outlook.
I feel like that like where you get into trouble with that though is like that then would suggest that people who are not neurodivergent are less evolved, and like that's like a little bit like fucked.
X-Men.
Like that's like kind of fucked, right? Like it's like because like, and then you also get into this idea that like that we're superior because we have ADHD, but I do not feel superior because I feel very disabled by it and like pretty disadvantaged. Really? Yeah.
Because I don't feel that way at all. And I've been dealing with it for a long time. So let's get back into it, because we kind of went off on a little side track there, which is what we'll do because it's we're a symptom, right? Yeah. But we're talking about my diagnosis in kindergarten, and so my dad told me later on that he thought I was going to be the only kid that flunked out of kindergarten. Yeah. Because apparently I was getting sent to the principal's office every day and acting out and those kinds of things, and so I was put on Ritalin. Yeah. And I took a pill in the morning before I went to school, and I took a pill in the afternoon at lunch, and every day for lunch throughout, I think up until I was like in high school, I was allowed to actually have my Ritalin on me. It was to the principal's office every single day.
Yeah.
To take my pill, right? At lunch.
Did you ever like cheek it?
No.
No. Okay.
I just took it. I'm actually really good at taking pills. I'm not a pill popper at all, but I've never had an issue. I know some people can like choke out on those, not have a difficult time taking them. But anyway, so I would take those at school. I would take them before church. My parents would make me take them. Like if we were going to like a birthday party or some kind of event or family gathering, I would be taking it. Yeah. Right. And
like, would you ever protest?
Not until later, but we'll actually get into that in a little bit kind of after this because I want to talk to you about your diagnosis later on. Yeah. But I stopped taking Ritalin in my senior year of high school. And I have not taken anything since. Okay. And I've managed. But we'll talk about that a little bit more. Now, you were diagnosed recently.
So, like, 2017 is when I got diagnosed. So how long ago? So 6 years ago?
Something like that.
Is that recent?
I can't do math in my head. Yeah, I think I'd say that's fairly recent. Within the last decade, right?
Yeah, so recent, yeah. Sorry. I have to have everything very much defined.
It's fine.
Okay.
Go on.
What else?
You were married?
Okay, yeah, I was married.
I mean, let's get into it.
So, like, is there a different part where we're going to talk about my experience, like, as a kid with, like, ADHD?
I mean, we can talk about it right now.
I want to do it now, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, my birthday is August 21st. So that's usually, like, the time when, like, school starts, right? So I was born in California, and in California, you could start kindergarten when you were 4. Mm-hmm. Okay. So school started on the day that I turned 4.
Oh my God.
And I started school, my kindergarten year, on the day I turned 4. And so I can't verify this as like fact or anything, but like there have been times in my life where I've been told that I was premature. But I cannot verify that at this point in time. And maybe sometime we'll get into that story, but not today. So I was starting school the day I turned 4. Potentially premature child. I looked small for my age, so that I can think that could be true. And I had ADHD. Like, so the narrative.
But you weren't diagnosed.
Not diagnosed till 2017. So the narrative in my family and like the story gets told is that like I was really excited to start school, and that's why I started school then. Okay. I have I don't have a lot of deep memories from like when I was that age of school. I do remember like it was like reading time, right? And I have this memory where the teacher's like, come sit on the rug. You read, right? And so I do remember that, and like kind of like looking at the carpet, and it was rainbow colors, and there were like tinsels in it, and I was pulling the tinsel out. And at the end of the story, the teacher asked a question, and then the girl next to me raised her hand and answered the question. And I remember thinking, like, that's magic. I had no idea what we were supposed to be doing, that I was going to be required to listen or ask questions. So that was kind of like my experience, right? And then we moved to Missouri whenever I was in second grade. And every moment after that, my educational experience is trash. It is
because of Missouri, or
it is. So I started school in second grade in Missouri in the middle of the semester. The circumstances were kind of grim. I'm not going to get super into that, but the school that I went to was Buffalo High School, and it's very small and rural. And
how many kids would you say were in your graduating class?
I didn't graduate, so I am not 100% sure, but I think that just randomly off the top of my head, even though I have no concrete idea, 50.
Okay. I would say mine would be probably around the 100.
Okay.
So my town was probably maybe twice as big as yours.
Probably, yeah. Like,
it was still a small town.
I think we had 2 stoplights, maybe. And like...
Yeah, we had more.
Okay, yeah. Anyways, We didn't have a super center, but you lived in Arkansas, so you probably had one in every town, no matter how big.
Harrison, Arkansas is where store number 2 was, actually. My dad worked for them.
Fuck. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I went to college with a girl and like shared an office with her like during my grad assistantship, whose dad was like the Target guy for like the regional stuff. And so, yeah, anyway, that doesn't matter. But so when we moved here, it's like, I moved here and I am in a family of 5 children and 2 adults. So we're a family of 7 and I'm the 4th born. And so there were certain ways that I was disadvantaged because of that. Like in each class that I kind of went on to because of reasons. Okay. So anyways, I was also had ADHD and I hadn't learned jack shit like up to that point. So I really didn't know. And I'm like a bit on the spectrum, but I'm very ADHD. You know, you've seen it.
Right.
So I was seen as a disruption and I was just told to go outside of class.
Oh.
So I spent like probably 90% of my education from 2nd grade on as just a fixture that like was not present inside the classroom. And so I did not know. I didn't learn anything at all. At all. When I dropped out of high school, I had not learned anything. I had to teach myself, like, I knew how to read, but I didn't really know how to read. Like, I had to kind of teach myself how to read. Yeah. So
wait, you're the one who told me the story about band, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can we tell that story real quick?
Okay.
You played the French horn? Right?
No, the trumpet.
Trumpet.
I just never learned how to play. I never learned how to play the trumpet.
And how long were you in band?
Like until I dropped out.
So more than 1 year?
In high school, like so sophomore year, but like also in middle school.
Okay.
I just didn't learn how to play until like one day I was like kind of cornered with like having to do a solo. And so I just smashed my bell of the trumpet in and was like, I can't fucking do it. And I just did not ever know how to play. It was, wow. I know. It's so, I mean, I think back on that. I'm like, could you imagine being a teacher for a second? What would you do? I'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I would be like, what the fuck's wrong with me as the teacher? Because I can't teach this girl how to play trumpet.
I mean, I think at that point
I have failed you.
I think at that point it was like there was like kind of like unspoken. Like we both knew, and then it got to this point where she's like, "Bitch, like you can't." It's like you're in high school now. Like we have to go like to places and perform and
be like,
so
she
kind of had to like push me out at that point because it was like I kind of think she bet on me just not following through and like leaving the class, right?
Yeah.
And when I just never did, she's like, "What the fuck?" Right?
Wow. Okay. Interesting. All right.
That's my take. Okay, that's
Yeah.
my take on my band career.
Your music career.
My music career in high school.
Okay, so we've made it to high school. Now,
Okay.
What happens? You enter adulthood.
Oh, a lot happened, but we don't need to get into all that.
Right.
So, long story short, I get my shit figured out. I go to college and I take, I'm like in psychology, right? I'm getting ready to graduate. I have my last semester. And I just decided to take this class that's like not required of me, but it's like I get to test people's IQ. So I'm like, that sounds fucking rad.
Okay.
And so I go into that class, and it just so happens that class is taught by the department head of the counseling department, right?
Right.
And so she saw something in me, I guess, maybe. But she was like, you know, I'm going to write you a recommendation letter to the counseling center to get a grad assistantship there.
Wow.
She's like, you should apply to our counseling program. And so I did, and then I got an interview to the counseling program or the counseling center for a grad assistantship, and I got it. And they were like they paid for my tuition for my grad degree, and I got like a stipend to work there. So I started like practicing counseling with the students in like 2011. And so I did that for a couple of years. And then I stayed there for a little while after I graduated. And I started working at the hospital that I'm not going to use the name here.
That's fine. You don't have to.
Okay. And Sarah was my boss.
Yeah.
She hired me. It was...
Sarah's in the room with us right now.
Sarah's with us, yeah. So, yeah. And so then while I was working there, I left Sarah's department and I started marketing. for them. And I loved it. But it was also, there was some stuff there that was like not, like I had to go driving around and shit and, go marketing by like going like to nursing homes and shit like that. Mm-hmm. And like I was like kind of losing track of time and like things started kind of feeling a little scary there. So I went to my doctor and I was like, yo, like, I feel like I might have a brain tumor. Because wow. I was like, I would be driving and I'd see like a weird house and I'd be like thinking about it. And then suddenly I'd be like 2 hours later and I'm like, where the fuck am I?
Holy shit.
So I was really freaked out. And so my doctor was like, maybe you're depressed. And she prescribed me Prozac. And that gave me panic attacks. And then she was like, I'm going to refer you to get an eval. And so I went and did a psych eval. And that was like 2 days. And then they were like, yo, you got fucking bad ADHD. Like, how the fuck did you make it this far without knowing this?
Wow. And
so they were like, okay. And then I went and saw a counselor for like probably 6 sessions. And then she referred me to a psychiatrist. And then he was like, we're going to get you on some Adderall.
Right.
And so I was like, okay. And then I started taking Adderall and it changed my fucking life.
Well, that really leads us into the next thing that we're talking about because I saw an article today and there's an Adderall shortage, which we've talked about before. Mm-hmm. And then they were talking about, the different things that can affect it because it's like a controlled substance and the DEA has to sign off on how much they expect to produce, but yet the numbers of ADHD diagnosis are increasing year over year. And so it's causing these massive shortages, which you've suffered from.
Yeah.
Right? And so, I'd asked you about it and you told me that you were considering going off of Adderall. And so I guess my question is if it changed your life completely, why are you going off of it? Because I remember when you didn't have it, and
because of the shortage,
freaking out a little bit. You were like, I can't function without it. So I'm just curious why now you would want to try going without.
Okay, so like the last year that, or maybe it's been about 2 years since the shortage started. That's a mouthful. Okay. It's like, to get the prescription filled, it feels like a nightmare to a person who has ADHD, in the flavor that I have it in. Okay. So it's like, they don't have it. And like, so here's some examples of things that I've experienced since the shortage started.
Sure.
They don't have the prescription. So I've been told, okay, we don't have the 60 we don't have 60 tabs. So we're going to give you 45. You have to pay for 60 and you're not going to get the other pills that you've been prescribed.
That's shitty.
Right. It's like, I'm like, okay. And because, what do you do? Right? What do you do? Okay. I'm like, I feel like that's like, I'm like, are you my drug dealer? Like, what the fuck? You don't have it all? This is crazy, right? Mm-hmm. They don't make. The system is already designed and set up in such a way that if you are somebody who has felt ostracized or oppressed or been felt to like that like you're wrong or something's wrong with you, that like you go into that system that's designed and you feel like you're wrong. And so anything that they tell you in that space, it's like you're like they think I'm a fucking addict. I'm here for my pills. And then you go on Reddit because you're an idiot, right? You're an idiot like me, and you type in Adderall shortage and you click on Walgreens, and it's like just people calling like people with ADHD like zombies and fucking this, right? So it's like the whole system triggers like every single thing in me that like is tied to my childhood and my experience with my education being like wrong and like a distraction, and if something's wrong with me, go away, like that. It like triggers that shit in me. And so it's like just to get my meds, I have to go through this whole rigmarole of fucking bullshit that like makes me feel all the worst ways about myself. And then I get my meds, and then I take them, and then the next time I have to get my script filled, I have to then stop taking them for an indefinite amount of time because I don't know when they're going to get refilled again. So it's like this like time suspends a bit. And so in that space, I'm like, I can't function. My executive functioning goes out the fucking window because it's like things don't feel predictable or like there's not a pattern that I can predict. And so recently, I was pretty fucked up, and I just like had this moment where I was like, I think I've learned enough about myself, and I think that I know, I think I can develop some other coping mechanisms that make me feel less bad than that.
Okay.
And just not take it anymore.
So are you just going to do like a let's try this, or are you swearing off of it?
I mean, I don't swear off of things because I think that doesn't really like work for me because I change my mind a lot.
Okay.
And so I think like right now this feels comfortable. I feel like this is a good decision. I feel like I'm at a place in my career where I feel like I can comfortably juggle my schedule, and like I feel the caseload that I've maintained for a while, like I'm working pretty steady with those clients, and then we're doing this, and so that's kind of a creative outlet, and I think I'm just gonna kind of see how it goes. If things spiral out of control, but I think that the spiral comes with like the feeling of like, okay, now I got to figure out which pharmacy has Adderall in. So I got to call places, and I hate fucking calling places.
It's like now I have to do all this extra work.
And like waiting on hold on Walgreens or like Walmart or something is like, that feels like torture. That's torture.
It's abusive.
I don't want to fucking do it. And like, it's like, God, so after like 1 year of like every single month, like having to go through I get stabilized for a month on my meds, and then I'm off them for a month because they don't have them. And then I'm stabilized again on my meds for a month, and then they don't have them for 2 months.
So it's just this
week.
Constant like up and down, and you're
and
having
like,
to cope with it already.
Yeah, and
without taking it.
Once I get on my meds, it's like by the end of the month that I've stabilized on them, like everything's into place and functioning, right? And it's like, all right, I'm going to the gym, I'm doing this, I got this going on, and then it's like I go to refill my meds, and then it's like I have to not only then like not know when I'm going to be able to get them refilled, but I've also got to keep all these things that I've now maintained for a month and like built up. I've got to maintain all that.
Do you find it's easier to maintain those things?
I can maintain,
like going to the gym and things like that.
I think what's hard for me to maintain when I'm not on my medication, like say the month goes on and I'm not on my meds, but I'm not going to be getting them the next month. So it's not like a situation where I'm like having to readjust and reacclimate and all that over and over again. So if I just stop taking them, I can build like a system and a routine that functions. The part that will suffer is pay my bills, checking my mail, like buying the things, like dishwashing detergent when I'm at the store.
You're naming off all these things, and I'm like, I have a system for every single one of those things.
Yeah, but I have a natural, very like primal, like opposition to systems.
Why?
Did you not listen to my whole story about my educational fucking experience?
Well, my educational experience wasn't.
But it was routine,
either.
And it was structured.
True.
And it was like engaging, and people weren't shunning you to the fucking hallway.
I mean, I was shunned a lot, even on Ritalin, but it wears off before 7th period. In my math class in, I believe, 7th grade, I was just a terror.
Eric, I couldn't read.
Every day
I couldn't read in 7th grade.
Okay. You win.
I mean, I win as far as like why I'm oppositional to systems.
But it's a coping mechanism for me, right? That's how I deal with it.
Absolutely, and that makes sense.
So do you
for
feel
me, it
like
doesn't.
I have severe ADHD?
I mean, I don't think that you have... Okay, like, it's a spectrum, right? And so I think that like you are on the spectrum similar to where I'm at on the spectrum. I think that you had advantages in life that make it to where you can function a little bit easier.
Right.
In ways that I am dysfunctional because it wasn't identified for so long, and also because I grew up in poverty and
right. I mean, I grew up in a trailer park, Katie.
Yeah.
So, I don't.
Did you go to the dentist?
I did go to the dentist.
Did you go to the doctor?
I did go to the doctor. So yeah. So okay. Again, you win. I mean, I guess technically I won.
Actually, I lose.
I guess I won.
Right.
But. So as far as like ADHD medication, for me is concerned, I was on Ritalin K through 12,
right,
and then I stopped, and then I was able to make it all the way to 41 without a major catastrophe.
Oh, I wanted to tell you my epiphany, and I saved it for this actually.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. My epiphany that I had the other day was like, so. Kind of the epiphany that I had along the same time I was thinking I cannot be on my medication is because of the similarities that I have seen with us in the way that we have, like in our brand of ADHD. I don't know what to fucking call it, but like we have similar traits and characteristics.
Right.
So like when I take medication, do you remember when you hung out with me when I wasn't on my medication and then you said like,
yeah, you were a little different.
Yeah. But you were more fun. Yeah. When I take medication, I don't like myself that much. I get my shit done and I check my mail and I pay my bills and like I can paint a picture, but like I'm not feeling a lot of good inside. Right.
And that's why
exactly.
That's why I stopped.
Yeah.
So my experience with it, because it was never I need this type of thing. It's I have to because that's so. If I don't show up at the principal's office to take my pill, they're going to tell my mom.
Here is a perspective I want you to ponder or reflect on. Okay, so like you maybe didn't want to take your meds. You didn't want to take Ritalin during that time where you were like being educated, but you didn't have a choice, and like that helped you in ways that like now you can utilize certain like resources that I feel pretty dysfunctional around, right?
Like
and what? Like it's really difficult for me to call like on the phone somebody and be like, "Hey, I need to ask about my prescription." It's like feels like it really does feel like torture. It is not easy. I have a really hard time like checking my mail and things like that. Where
like your email or like your mailbox?
My mailbox. It like becomes like this task that I can't get to, and then it gets bigger and bigger, and it gets more and more like feeling like I can't. And like part of that is related to my upbringing, is related to my experience at school and being very like kind of like a left behind kid is really true. Like anyways, so. I needed medication when I was in school, and that would have really benefited me because I would have been able to do math and read and understand that I was supposed to be doing those things and why. But I didn't have that opportunity, and like I was not identified as a kid. I was just seen as like a problem. And so when I did get medication, even though it did make me feel those ways about myself, where it was like, this isn't fun anymore. It was like I needed that to be able to get my life together in a way so that I could move on to whatever step is going to get me away from the things that were like causing me harm. And so like so when I was thinking about that, I was like, okay, it did the work of that. And I appreciate that. And I'm not regretful. I'm like, I don't have regrets that I had to take medication for that to happen, but I don't need it. And now I can figure it out from here.
Right.
And like, maybe that's not for everybody and that doesn't work that way for everybody. But I think that like similar to you, it can work that way for me now.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay.
I mean, again, I don't see it because I can only tell you what my experience was.
Yeah.
Right. And my experience was I felt like a zombie. Like I felt very introverted.
And like
which is not who I am.
Right. And like, here's the thing. I guess like what I really want to make clear to you so that you understand, because I don't care about that. So I don't think that it's fair that you had to take medication in order to get the education that you did or learn the way that you did. That's bullshit. Our education system should not function like that. There should be space in our schools for kids that are neurodivergent, and they shouldn't have to take pills so that they sit still for fucking 12 hours a day.
So you're saying that there could be like alternative teaching methods?
Yes. However, because of the school system being designed it was, and because of the circumstances that you were in, the only way that you would have been able to get any education is to be on Ritalin, because the way that you function is not designed to like
function within the way the school system is designed.
Yeah. And so like it sucks that happened to you, and that is traumatic, and I don't think that should have ever happened to you. But what I'm saying is like you benefited from it, and that sucks.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Okay.
But what led me to stop taking it, is because it did make me feel like a zombie. I felt very introverted. I felt like there was this version of me that was being suppressed every time I took that medication. And like whenever I would take it, when I would go to a birthday party, if it was like a long event, you can feel it. Like you can feel it wearing off. Yeah. And then I can feel myself coming out of my shell and interacting and being more social with others and having fun with other kids. Because I was lonely. I got bullied a lot. I didn't have a lot of friends. And I blame Ritalin a lot for that. I feel like
it's
part of
really
my childhood was stolen from it. So I just flat out told my mother, I think this was right in the middle of my senior year. I was just like, Mom, I don't want to take Ritalin anymore. Mm-hmm. And she didn't argue.
Good.
And she was like, okay. And since that day, I haven't taken another Ritalin. Now, I mean, Ritalin is a stimulant, correct? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I drink a pot of fucking coffee every morning, right? And I'm a huge caffeine drinker. And does caffeine have an effect on people with ADHD to help them focus and things like that? Like, is that a thing?
Well, you have ADHD and it helps you focus, so yeah. Sorry.
But, I've managed to make it through, my adulthood and still be kind of
let me get a little tiny bit touchy. So when you tell that story, the only thing that I take away from it is like the sad part of that what you probably learned subconsciously or consciously is that like when you are yourself, you are not desired.
No.
Because you're out of your shell. When you're out of your shell, you're supposed to take the meds, go back in.
No, I didn't feel like it wasn't a thing about desire. It was just a thing about, just a part of me being suppressed, not desired.
Did you not ever consider that, like, the part of you that you liked is the part of you that, like, other people wanted to suppress?
No, not really. I mean, it was just kind of... Sorry. The thing is like, sorry. ADHD was never communicated to me by my parents or by any professional during my evaluation as any kind of disorder.
Oh, it's in the name.
I know, but this isn't, you're not disabled, you don't have a learning disability, this is just, you're just different and you have trouble paying attention. That's all. And so that's kind of how it was like put to me.
Okay.
And I feel like I've learned more about ADHD just in the last year than I ever did as a child with ADD and being on Ritalin from kindergarten through senior year.
Yeah.
So it was never, there was a girl who gave me a hard time in class once and teased me and said I had a learning disability. I'm like, I don't have a fucking learning disability. What are you talking about? I mean, I had...
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it was never put to me like this was like there's something wrong with you.
Right.
So it was never this is because the version of you is not what we desire or anything. It's more of, hey, you're having trouble in school and this is just going to help you pay attention and learn.
Why did you have to take it to church then or at birthday parties?
Because I would misbehave.
Okay. Well, we can move on from this part.
That's the thing. Like I would
Right.
Like my dad, like anytime we would go into a store or something, it's like, put your hands in your pockets, don't touch anything. Like, I was did stupid shit. I was a boy that did dumb shit as a kid and would say dumb shit to random people. I mean, I still do that, just online. Right? Speaking of which, we really only have 15 minutes left. So let's get into some fun stuff. So we talked about all of it. I mean, not that what we're talking about just now isn't fun.
I don't think it's fun. It feels like work.
Of course. I mean, the whole thing was your idea, Katie.
I mean, you bounced on it. Come on.
But, this is what I enjoy doing. Yes. But anyway, so some of the things that we talked about that we're going to kind of do on this podcast is like maybe talk about like what would be like our hyper focus of the week. Now, hyper focus is a word that I never really heard until about the last year. And it's weird. And I told you before we started the show this evening was that like even the word neurodivergent and things like that were not in like regular vocabulary around me.
Yeah.
Just up until like the last year, I started hearing that word a lot. And especially like starting dating. You see a lot of girls put that on their profile. They'll put neurodivergent. And speaking of which, this is something I thought of when you were going off on your rant earlier. But
I thought it was a rant.
It seems like it was only ever boys that were going to the principal's office to take Ritalin. I don't remember any girls that I went to school with had been diagnosed with ADHD. So was it something that was believed was more common in boys?
It still is.
They didn't.
It still is.
Do you ever recall any kind of professional at school suggesting maybe you get evaluated for ADHD as a child?
No.
So they failed you, right?
I mean, so... Yeah, I was like, so before like ISS was available for like whatever year that started, I was literally just in a like sitting at a desk right outside the door.
Okay.
So like, no, I don't know that school had professionals.
Okay. All right. So what would you say a hyperfocus is?
So the way that I would describe my hyperfocus,
or just what is hyperfocus in general?
So hyperfocus is like, so like this week, for example, I started looking into like Carl Jung and like archetypes and shadow work. And so an example of how that manifests, that hyperfocus, is that I have now like filled my journal with like archetypes and then have like put several tarot readings. I'm like trying to find which tarot deck I want to work with next to do shadow work. I have like looked at all of the tarot like major arcana in comparison with the archetypes and like put words basically all of that. That's hyperfocus.
And what led you to well, no, define the word hyperfocus.
I mean,
so like
here,
I mean, you just told me what yours is.
I mean, I'm going to Google it because I think it's different for everybody. So I don't want to come up with a definition if I can just look it up and we can just define it.
Okay.
Hyperfocus. It's like a hyperfixation, but okay. Hyperfocus, broadly and anecdotally speaking, is a phenomenon that reflects one's complete absorption in a task to a point where a person appears to completely ignore or tune out everything else. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
And your hyperfocus has been Carl Jung,
shadow work. Shadow work, yeah. I've been on it like a bonnet.
So lately mine, of course, as you already know, has been pizza. Which all started from
the best hyperfocus I've ever I've ever experienced.
Which started with I had gotten really into baking before previously, and it's just a YouTube video was recommended to me about making pizza at home, and then I went down the rabbit hole, and all of a sudden I'm making pizza all the fucking time. I'm so glad.
Where's the pizza right now?
I have the dough ball in the fridge. Oh. Actually, we could probably have some if you want.
No, I've got to get out here when we're done.
But anyway. This week, though, has been that damn theme song for the show.
Oh my gosh, for real.
I mean, the thing
again,
is,
your hyperfocuses really have benefited me so far.
Right, I know.
I appreciate that. That's not how mine work usually. Mine are very self-indulgent.
But it's incredible because I can sit in my recliner and use this studio app that you can make music on.
Yeah.
And I was tweaking it last night, and I've gone over it and I've listened to it 1,000 times and going over it and putting each little, hi-hat and all those kinds of things in there, changing the instrumentation and all those kinds of things just for this little 25-second song that's going to go on this podcast that hopefully someone will listen to.
I mean,
right?
I'm definitely going to.
I was sitting there, and then all of a sudden I look at my watch, and it's like 9 o'clock, where normally I'm in bed by like 8:30. And I'd been sitting there since like 6:30, and I just completely zoned out. I hadn't gotten up out of my chair or anything, just sat there.
How many minutes? How long was it?
Like 2.5 hours.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which it's pretty impressive, but that's the thing. It's like, I've never had that moment where like you see a house and all of a sudden you're 2 hours late for work. Yeah. I'm always on time for everything. I'm always early. I'm never late.
Yeah, I'm always. I'm pretty late.
You are.
I'm like almost always late.
As in the late Katie Harrison.
Oh, damn. Yikes.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, well, I don't.
I know.
Okay.
I know you don't. But anyway, it's just kind of interesting how looking at it through the lens of, well, this is a hyper focus and being like aware of it.
Yeah.
I can look back in my life and just be like, oh, of course, all of those things that I've done throughout my life.
Yeah.
That I want to try this, I want to do this, I want to do that. And I was actually talking to my parents about it because they would always get mad because I would start something and then I would quit. Right? So like Boy Scouts and karate and soccer and football and band and, all of these things.
Yeah.
And it's like, I still do that. But I don't feel like a quitter. I don't feel like a failure. I feel like I wanted to try something. I tried it. And now I want to try something else. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't see what that is. And now, when I'm explaining it to them now, I'm like, that's just like a symptom of, that's how my brain works. And you guys gave me a really hard time about it when I was a kid.
What do they say when you say that?
They were just like, oh.
Did they apologize?
No. I don't know. I'm not going to ask my parents for an apology. That's just...
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
If I'm going to ask my parents to apologize for anything, it'd be for circumcising me.
I agree. I think... how have you not? Have you?
I've expressed that I wish they hadn't. And my mom has said if she had it to do it over again, she would have done it. Because she said she felt terrible after it was done.
But she won't apologize?
I don't know. I mean, I guess if I asked her to say she's sorry, she probably would. But I haven't asked her for one. Okay. My parents are cool. I have a good relationship with my folks. So, not so much other members of my family, but, that's neither here nor there. So anyway, that's, I guess, what we're...
I think, you know what I'm going to do?
What?
I am going to start... I'm going to have a clicker next time, and I'm going to press it every time you say something like how much you love your parents or how good of a relationship you have with them.
This is the first time I've said it.
No, it's not.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
We're going to play this. You realize we're recording this, right?
I know.
All right, let's move on. We had some fun things that we were going to do. We don't have enough time to do them all, but I do want to do.
I want to do some.
Ask Men and Ask Women. We're going to do the Ask Men. We're going to save the mental health stuff for the next episode. Okay. Because we've got a lot of good meat here, Katie.
Meat and potatoes.
The show is almost over.
Okay, cool.
But one of the things that you and I like to do is kind of go through these like advice things and kind of read them to each other. And we do actually have a couple people who've emailed us that knew we were doing the show and have some questions for us too. So let's do some of the fun stuff and then we'll get to the questions and then we'll wrap it for today.
Okay, cool.
And anything on our list that we didn't get to today, Katie, we'll just do it next time.
Yes, we can do that, yeah.
Now, if you do want to ask us any questions or anything, you can always email us at neurodetergent.pod@gmail.com. But let me pull this up on my phone and we'll just kind of take turns. I picked 3 for you. And these are some Ask Women because it's always interesting to get your perspective on things.
Yeah.
Because your perspective is pretty unique. Because you are a pretty unique individual. You're not just a normal...
a run-of-the-mill gal.
But the first question I think we can both relate to.
Okay.
What do you consider a shitty marriage?
Oh, gosh. Okay. I think, like, any marriage where, like, one or more of the people involved in the marriage is, like... feeling like invalidated or unheard or hurt or like harmed, that's a shitty marriage.
But don't you think most relationships would have moments where people are experiencing those things, but not necessarily say that it's a shitty marriage? Because, I mean, people get hurt in good marriages, too, right?
I mean, I think communication, then. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's solid, then. Like, a shitty marriage is, like, one where there's not like, effective, productive, kind, empathetic communication.
For me, coming out of 2 shitty marriages, I think I can boil it all down to one word. Mm-hmm. And that's effort.
Yeah.
You know?
But, I mean, here's the thing. Like,
from both
it, like, even if somebody's putting in mass amounts of effort and both people are putting in effort, if they are not communicating what that effort is and what those needs are to be met, then, like, it doesn't matter it's wasted effort.
Okay.
Like, if you're like, oh my God, I've been doing the dishes, I'm doing this and cleaning the house and making sure I mow the lawn, you know, this whole time, and like, you've been unappreciative. And if I'm like, I didn't know that, like, that was what you were doing that for. It's like, tell me then.
Right.
If that's like effort you're putting in and you're not communicating to me that that's like what you need or like want me to like recognize, then like there's
But that's
no
not
point.
really that other person putting in the effort to communicate, though. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm right. Who knows?
Yeah.
What does a good marriage look like? Because I haven't had one yet.
I think a good marriage, I mean, I hate the word marriage, so, like, maybe that's throwing me off. Mm-hmm. I think, like, partnership is more important than marriage. Marriage is I don't even like the institution or, like, to even, like... So, like, a good relationship, a healthy relationship.
Okay.
Is one where the 2 people are communicating and, like, they're not just communicating because they want the other person to hear what they're saying and, like, agree, but because they want to listen to what the other person is saying because they don't want to hurt them and they want to, like, know what the best way to move forward is. And, like, when there's care like that and empathy like that for the other person and those things are communicated, like, that's a healthy relationship. That's a solid relationship, whether it's a marriage or a friendship or a partnership or whatever, right?
Right. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, what you got for me?
All right. What is a lie? This is Ask Men.
Okay.
What is a lie you have realized people tell? Example, people saying they like their jobs.
Oh, wow. People that say good when you ask how they're doing.
What about people who ask how they're doing?
Do you think
they're lying, that they actually want to know?
That's possible. That's very possible, because I say it all the time. And
you don't want to know? Oh, then don't say it. Don't say it.
What should I say? Just hi?
You should say, yeah, hi.
How's it hanging?
No. Just hi.
Hi.
Yeah, hi.
Okay.
Hi, hope you're well.
But what if that's a lie?
Then don't say that. Say, I hope you're fucking hurting.
What's a lie that you feel like you've heard? Or
Okay.
Gets told a lie?
Okay, so like a lie I've realized that people tell recently. I think that they're trying their best. I think people lie a lot when they say that.
You think people aren't really trying their best?
I think, like, that people who say that, sometimes I'm like, I feel like if you feel like you gotta say it.
Yeah.
Then, like...
I mean, I can tell you from a leadership perspective that I know a lot of people who've told me that they're trying their best really aren't.
How many times have you told people that you're leading, that you're trying your best when you're not?
I don't
like if they have like a request or if they need something and you're like, I'm trying my best to get you that. Are you really?
I make a point to try and deliver.
Okay.
Okay. As far as for things, I mean, look, like leadership is. I mean, this is a passion of mine, and being like, treating people with like integrity and dignity, and making sure I'm responding to them in a timely fashion, and I've talked to you about how I structure like my management style.
Have you ever thought about being a therapist?
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how I meet with my people once a week. They know they have 30 minutes of my undivided attention every single week. And a lot of times if they ask me for things, I'm like, let me shoot a message over to my boss right now while you're sitting here in front of me. You know, so that's kind of how I try to do things. And I try not to leave people hanging either.
Yeah.
And that kind of stems from a sales background too, because I ran a specialty department in a retail outlet where I had managers under me. And would have to deal with customers that wouldn't get like a call back or something. And I'm like, look, if you tell someone you're going to call them back, you call them back even if you don't have news.
I have a funny question.
All right, what's up?
Okay, this kind of goes off this one.
Okay.
What do you think is the most common lie that you've realized that you see the most frequently on dating apps?
That's a tough one for me.
Yeah?
I don't know. Like, are you talking about like just on people's
profiles? In a bio or whatever, yeah, on a profile.
I mean, I don't know. It's hard to tell. Okay. Because I don't really spend a whole lot of time reading the bios.
Yeah.
I know. Like, there's just a few criteria. What do they look like? God. Does it say, I love Jesus, or I'm a Trump supporter or whatever? Like, if it says like they're a Christian or a conservative, then I'm like, I don't care how hot she is.
Okay, do you read more bios on profiles that you aren't interested in?
Not really. I mean, I guess I do see some that, like, I know I've sent you screenshots because certain things will, like, stand out, but...
Like, you're gonna swipe left, but you're like, oh, I want to read the bio first to see if there's any bullshit in here that I want to screenshot.
Yeah, sometimes. But as far as, like, a lie, I mean, I could go on all day and tell you about things that I think are fucked up or that look stupid or that come off that I would never suggest
we could make a whole thing about that.
Or any man put on their profile.
Right. Yeah.
You know, just because it's stupid. It's like, why would you do that? Like, I could spend all day doing that. All right, I got one for you.
Okay.
What are signs that a guy is not mentally and emotionally matured?
Like... It rather than communicating like his like if he's feeling jealous or like insecure or like whatever, rather than like finding a way to communicate that like up front or directly, they like doing shit like going through your phone or fucking being like, you know, when you're going out with your friends, like they're messaging you and shit and like trying to make you feel like shit, like for being out, or like if they get, here's the thing. If they get sick, like if you're going out with your friends and then you already can kind of get a vibe that they're like not having it or whatever, or they're being pissy, and then you get a message from them where they're like, I'm sick, or they're like suddenly have a fever. Like that's a fucking red flag.
Really?
I'm just going to... I don't know how I got there or how we got here right now, but, like, that's a red flag.
Okay.
Ladies. Men. Theys. Thems.
That's a red flag. What if they legitimately are sick?
Then they shouldn't be texting you and burdening you unless they need a fucking ride to the hospital. Because you're out trying to have fun and they're trying to shit on your good time.
All right. You got one for me?
That's right. I got really impassioned by that.
I love it.
I don't even remember what the question was. Okay, ready? All right. Men of Reddit. So this is us men. What would make you not approach a woman you find attractive?
What would make me not approach a woman I find attractive? I mean, I don't approach every woman I find attractive. You know, I don't...
Well, then tell me why in those cases.
I mean, it depends on the environment. It depends on the mood.
Tell me one thing, one instance.
Why, if I see, so let's say I'm out looking to pick up a girl, and I see a girl that I think
When's the last time you went out looking to pick up a girl?
It's been forever ago. Okay. That's why I'm saying, because it's not like, because I see women that I find attractive all the time.
So, okay, let me ask you this.
Just approach every single one. Ready.
You're on Facebook or Instagram, right?
Okay.
And like the profile pops up, you're friends with them or whatever. They just pop up. They're like single, they live here. What would stop you from messaging them or DMing them?
Oh, okay. So like if they have like on a dating profile or just...
No, just like say Facebook or Instagram.
What would stop me?
Yeah.
Probably not wanting to seem like some kind of creepy weirdo that just messages people out of the blue and asks them out or whatever.
You know,
like that's what would stop me, because I mean, I can only imagine how many times a woman gets unsolicited people trying to slide into
on my
DMs.
Facebook and my Instagram. Yeah. I mean, rarely. I mean, maybe it's just me.
So should I just start trolling girls?
Oh my God!
Facebook? Why
would you troll them? No, do not troll anybody.
No, it's a different use of the word troll.
Okay, should you like approach them and say like
should I?
Hey,
I don't know.
You know, like I like your new profile picture. Like, it shows you're single. Like, I don't know if that's true or not. Would you want to get coffee? But I don't know. Fuck, I've never done that. I have done that. I have done that.
Now, but if you were like, I mean, and I have.
You have.
You know, the lady that did my birth chart that I told you about, that was just me kind of messaging her out of the blue.
Do you want me to read you the funniest interaction that I've had doing that?
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
It really is the best. It's so clumsy on my part. I'm not going to read names, okay?
Okay.
So this is April 2nd, all right? So almost 1 year ago, all right?
Okay.
I messaged this to this person on Instagram. I slid into their DMs.
Oh,
I said, hey, I'm wondering if you'd want to hang out sometime. Chill and smoke. I think this might be my first time sliding into somebody's DMs. So be easy on me. LOL. Okay.
Oh, I'm going to steal that.
Okay, that was April 2nd.
I'm just going to copy and paste that.
Do you want to know when he messaged me back?
When?
October 2nd.
Okay. And when, you said April?
April.
Okay. Were you friends with him on Facebook?
I was friends with him on Instagram.
Oh, okay.
This is what he said.
Mm-hmm.
I just cognitively saw this message. And yes. So I said, oh, I forgot I sent this. But glad you've seen it. Let me know when you're free sometime.
Nothing. I mean, it just wasn't in the cards.
Like, why do you think in October, like, why message back after that long to not respond?
I don't know.
That's weird, right?
You should send him a link to this podcast.
No. He's seen it, I'm sure. I think he might have.
All right, last question, and then we'll get on to the friends of the show questions, okay?
I'm ready.
Because I'm genuinely curious, because I've never had a conversation about this with another woman.
Okay.
Or with a woman.
Is this the one Sarah sent you?
No.
Okay.
We'll save that to next week.
Yeah.
Those who are sexually active.
All right.
Have you / how often do you use female condoms?
Oh, I never have.
You never have.
Sarah. Have you? No.
No? Okay. And so I was just curious because the top comment on here, I've never seen a female condom in my life.
Are they real? I feel like would they go?
But the second comment is my boyfriend at the time told me it felt like fucking a tent.
Oh.
I could never take them seriously after that.
How does he know what a tent feels like?
Cheerfully wore male condoms. I mean, he's probably just making a joke. But that would be, I don't know.
Hilarious.
I don't know. I mean, condoms are a necessary
have you
evil.
ever encountered a sexual experience where the woman said, hang on, let me put a condom on?
Absolutely not. Never.
What would you be like, oh, here we go?
I'd be like, I've never used one of those, but I'm down. Katie.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
I'm pretty agreeable.
Yeah. You're just happy to be there.
I am just happy to be here.
Yes. Okay.
All right. So that's really going to be it for that part. Now, we got to wrap it up, but we're going to go through the emails. All right. First question, friend of the show. I'm not sure if we should mention names or not, so we're not going to. Over the past year, this is the subject is the blind leading the blind.
Okay.
Over the past year, my 9-year-old son was referred by his school for ADHD screening, and he was recently formally diagnosed with ADHD, combined type. I'm not sure what that means.
I got it. That's mine. That's my type.
And then in parentheses it says, to no one's surprise, during his first screening appointment, he literally climbed the walls and then appeared to be lost in another world when asked repeatedly to come down. In the course of his assessment and learning more about ADHD, it became apparent to me that I also have significant executive dysfunction. Where do I even start to assist my son with learning to manage his symptoms? I can clearly see how much he benefits from routines, order, regular exercise. In other words, all the things that I have sucked at creating for myself for my entire life. I buy books about ADHD that I don't finish, or check out audiobooks that I start playing and completely tune out and retain almost nothing from. I do that same shit too. Mm-hmm. I feel like the blind leading the blind and maybe the worst possible person to help a child who struggles to manage his attention. Is there a good place to start? What's an achievable first step for us?
Okay. So, first of all, I think that the important thing here is to say, like, to use the strengths of, like, what connect you in the way that you present with your neurodivergence. So, like, if he relies heavily on routine and things like that, and that is something that, she struggles with, that, like, she can benefit from his strength there, by, like, working with his routine and kind of going with that, right? So I'll say that. I want to say I had a client today, that is, like, it's very relevant to this question. And they were talking about how their kid was on the autism spectrum, and that they had been diagnosed pretty early on in life, and that their kid was now 15, and they were telling them that they think that their parent is also on the spectrum. Mm-hmm. And it was the best. And I haven't talked to Sarah about this, but Sarah, their kid brought them the DSM-5. And, like, was reading all, and it was so Lily. So the DSM is, like, the manual for, like, diagnostic criteria for every mental disorder. Oh. And so, it was just the best. And so they were talking about, like, I was saying to them, like, part of what has enabled their kid to be, as well adjusted as they are in like, spite of some of their executive dysfunction and, like, being on the spectrum, is that their parent, without even really understanding or knowing, was able to kind of meet them where they were, and where power struggles existed outside of the home, and where power struggles existed outside of the home for their kid, they didn't exist at home, because their parent was just, like, naturally more understanding of their struggles. And so, like, the environment at home was a lot more conducive to the functioning of their kid. And so it, like, created the space where it was like, they didn't have to, like, have things. They didn't need help. They had it figured out.
So would you say this person's already off to a good start just by being aware?
Okay, so I know this person. I know we're not going to name them, but I know who they are, and we've had a conversation about this, and I know that they, all of what I said applies to them, that they are creating that environment for their child, and where there are power struggles that exist outside of the home and, like, with other places and other people, they don't exist at home. And that's not a problem. That's a positive. That's a good thing. And to hear that and know that, like, they are doing something right with their kid. They are seeing them. Their kid feels safe. That's all.
All right. So should we move on to the next?
Yeah.
Okay. So this next one, they sent us 3 questions. The first question, I feel like we've kind of talked about it a little bit, and we're probably going to talk about this a lot.
Okay.
In every episode, but it's, how does your ADHD affect your lives now as compared to when you were a child?
I mean, yeah, we've definitely given we've
kind of covered that. At what point did you notice that how you function in many ways is not the same as other people? And I guess this would be your question to answer, because
I've known my whole life, but it wasn't, like, clearly defined until I had my diagnosis. And then I was like, oh. Sorry. It sounded like the scene from Office Space, where he's like, the O-Face.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
It's fine.
Sorry.
But anyway, so, I mean, I guess it would have been when you moved to marketing, right? When you were working for the hospital.
But, like, before that, it was, like, when my friend raised her hand in kindergarten and answered the question, and I was like, what the fuck? How do they know they answered? I don't. That's magic. I mean, I knew then that, like, I was different.
Okay.
I just didn't have the words.
Yeah, and for me, I never really thought I was different. And I never really felt I was different, even when I was taking the Ritalin and after I had the diagnosis. It was just... Do
you feel different now?
I mean, after talking to you a lot and looking more into it, I feel like I do, but I feel like I can function pretty well in life.
Yeah.
You know, I get all my bills paid. I take my trash out. But, you know, I have a reminder in my phone to tell me to do it. But that's how I do it. So last question, and this is a great question to end on.
Okay.
What advice would you give an adult that was just diagnosed with ADHD?
Okay. So, like, aside from, like, obviously getting a therapist who specializes in neurodivergence and, like, also getting a psychiatrist if you're wanting to explore, like, medication options, all of that stuff, like, I think that, like, if I am working with a client and they are struggling and they've got all the bases covered there and I'm a support person talking to them, like, what are we doing? I'm going to say, understand how how your brain works differently. Understand, like, how you have manifested, like, certain coping strategies and like mechanisms and things like that, so that you have, like, a really clear definition for, like, ways that you are disabled, or, like, not disabled, I don't want to use that word, but, like, ways in which, like, that diagnosis has caused you to have dysfunction. To really kind of narrow in on those things and try really hard to work on, like, not feeling shame, and saying things like, this is happening, or this has happened for a long time, or I function this way because I am neurodivergent. I'm on the spectrum, or I have ADHD. This is something that's been a part of me, and it's not because I'm wrong or bad. Like, just really settling into kind of some mantras about, like, how maybe things that you have, like, felt a lot of shame about yourself for those dysfunctions, as, like, this is just a part of how my brain works, and however that's been perceived by me or other people in the past, that's not true. This is what's true moving forward. And just really kind of, like, settling in on some, like, rationalizing that for yourself to dispel some of the shame that's very likely attached to it. Like,
looking back into some previous relationships, and now that I'm, you know, after talking to you and kind of learning more about ADHD as an adult, and, you know, accepting that I am neurodivergent and all of those kinds of things, I really wish that I could have communicated to people that I was in relationships with in the past that, hey, this is a part of who I am, and this is something that you're just... Because, you know, I'm always being accused of, you're not listening to me, I'm trying to talk to you, and you're just off in another world, all these kinds of things, and, like, getting mad at me for it. Like, and I'm just like... I'm accused of being an asshole a lot, and some of those accusations are valid. But at the same time, a lot of those... Well, like... it's not intentional. Yes. That's the thing. It's like, I'm not intentionally trying to be an asshole, too. Similar to that, like, I have been accused of being manipulative. Okay. Or of, like, feigning ignorance. Or, like, of being stupid, really. And, like, dim. And, like, being, like, not able to read between the lines. Or, like, not able to take a hint. Or, like, those kinds of things. Because I need things said directly to me. Or I don't get it. Right. I need you to say, get out of the way. You're in the way. It's time for you to go home. We need you here at this time. This is important. I need those things said to me. Don't forget your microphone. Don't forget your microphone. It's at 7:30. Whatever, right? I need those. It's like, and so if I show up and like sometimes people be like, oh, she's late
because she thinks she's better, or she's aloof, or this or that. She's cold. She's this. She's aloof, or flighty, or flaky, or whatever. And it's like, or that I mean something that I didn't when I said something. And it's like, no, I meant what I just said. It's just like people just thinking there's something else.
They make assumptions.
Yeah. Make assumptions or think that I'm being obtuse or whatever.
Is it, and this may just be true for everyone and not just people with ADHD or neurodivergent people, but does it really piss you off whenever people make assumptions about you that aren't true? Like, even on, like, little things. Like, you're probably thinking this. I'm like, yeah, no.
So here's the thing. It pisses me off when people make assumptions and then act forward or move forward with those assumptions as true without ever communicating to me what those assumptions are. Okay. So it, like, pisses me off if somebody's like, I just assumed you didn't want to come. Because like I talk, whatever reason. And then I'm like,
are we talking about like going someplace?
Just
or like,
random shit. No. Oh my God. If anybody were to say that to me in that context, I think I would like.
Oh my God. If a woman said that to me.
I assumed.
During sex, I just assumed you didn't want to come. I'd be like,
that'd be very rude. It'd be so, it's as rude as saying I assumed you didn't want to come to the fucking whatever. And then you're like,
the wedding or something.
You didn't ask me. And then they're like, well, last time. And it's like, well, this time's different. Like, you didn't, like, why would you, that shit. Where that pisses me off. But if somebody's like, I assumed like it was too late to call, or I assumed like you might have been I don't care about that shit. Like,
right. No, I'm talking about like people that make assumptions about your character.
Yeah, that pisses me the fuck off.
It seems to be happening a lot to me lately.
Yeah?
Yeah. We can talk about it after the show.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's gonna do it.
Okay, yeah.
To the first time.
How do you feel?
Katie, I mean, I feel good. So anybody out there listening, we're gonna be setting this up through Anchor on Spotify. We will have the ability for everyone to leave us voicemails. That's kind of something that we would like to get into, is if we can build up a good listener base.
I think people, maybe we could talk about it, but like maybe if people wanted to call and leave a voicemail and we called them back.
I don't know.
Why?
We'll see.
I would.
Baby steps.
Okay,
Katie.
cool.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
Or we can just refer them to
okay.
you as being their therapist. How about that?
I'm uncomfortable in this show, though. We need to be done.
Okay. All right. If anybody out there listening wants to write us, you can do so at I'm sorry, I can't even say the name of the show. neurodetergent.pod@gmail.com. I'm Eric.
I'm Katie.
And this is it.
Bye.